So I just wanted to welcome everybody to our June event. I'll get started with a few reminders and a little bit about us before we start the event. I'm really excited to gather today and talk about mental health in the workplace. Today's presentation will be led by our guest speaker, ZaDora Williams. But before we get started, just a few reminders. Please be on mute if you're not speaking. It will just be better audio quality for the rest of us. And if you're comfortable, turn on your video. It's always nice to see your face, but no pressure there. And then also like to suggest that you rename yourself in Zoom with your name, your pronoun, and maybe what organization you're with. You can do that by hovering over your photo and clicking the three dots and pressing rename. That way we can all get to know each other a little bit better. And if you have any questions throughout, feel free to use the chat. You can also direct message me too. I'll be helping keep an eye on the chat today. And we will have time for questions and interaction. We are a small group today, so there should be more opportunity for this engagement. And just a little bit about this event and Be Local PDX. Be Local PDX is a community in the greater Portland area that helps business people act on their purpose to achieve socioeconomic and environmental impact through meaningful connection. We provide certification support, connections for small growth for growth opportunities, and collaboration around social and environmental impact. And certified B Corps are for-profit companies that use the power of business to build a more inclusive and sustainable economy for everyone. I'm Rose Lavelle. I'm the learning chair on the Be Local PDX board, and I'm also working with B-Lab US Canada in the virtual events space and the Be Local program. So I wanted to let's see, I think Cassandra here is on the board. So Cassandra, would you introduce yourself too?
Yeah, hi, I'm Cassandra Furlong. I work for Northwest Permanente. We're the third largest B Corp in the state of Oregon, and I'm the ABC chair for the Be Local PDX board.
Thank you, Cassandra. And yeah, we like to introduce ourselves as board members just so you can connect with us after this event. If you have any questions or want to connect with us in the future, you can email info@belocalpdx.com and we will connect with you there. And just another thing, if you have any announcements for the community, please use the chat at any time of the meeting today. So are you hiring? Are you having an event soon, or just anything else you'd like us to know? Let's use the chat to interact. And so with that, I would love to introduce ZaDora Williams. ZaDora is the creator and primary clinician at Sankofa Center for Healing. She's a therapist, speaker, advocate for children and families, workshop facilitator, and so much more. She has earned her master's degree in social work from the University of Southern California. She's a licensed clinical social worker. Thank you for joining us today, ZaDora.
Thanks for having me. I am happy to be here and talk about mental health in the workplace, because these conversations should always be happening. So I appreciate you guys for taking this time to even host an event such as this. Okay, well, welcome. Nice to soon to meet everyone, shall I say. I always like to start off any event I'm doing with a quick check-in. Let's do a mental health check-in. How are you all doing today on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 is always living your best life. There's no stressors. There's nothing holding me down. I am feeling at my greatest, okay? And 1 is on the end of that, which could be feelings of suicide. So if you are in fact the one, I always encourage folks to direct message me so I can get you connected with appropriate resources. And also the question for today is, what is one thing you do to take care of your mental health? I'll start, and then some people, if you like, you can drop it in the chat. If you feel comfortable, please unmute. I do not like talking to myself. I'd rather engage with you guys. So today I'm checking in at a lovely 7. I got some good sleep last night, y'all. So That's definitely keeping me energized today. And one thing I do to take care of my mental health is I start my day with me in mind first. Even though I'm a mom and a wife, I get up and I tend to me first, which looks like morning stretching, tea, and either meditation or some affirmations just to get my day going. Anybody can jump in at any time.
I'll go. I'm Kate. So nice to be here with all of you. Thanks, ZaDora. I'm also at a 7. I'm looking forward to being on vacation with my twin brother and my niece next week, who are 2 of my most important relationships, and I get a whole week with them, and it's
Ooh.
such a gift. And one of the things I'm doing to take care of myself is I'm sending lots of snail mail. I send probably dozens of cards and postcards every week, and it's key to my mental health to send some positivity into the world. Thanks.
Love that. Thank you for sharing. Yes. Who's jumping in next?
Sure, I'll go. I would say I'm about an 8 today. Oh, I'm Katie, by the way. I think the biggest thing I do to take care of my mental health is exercise. I found that when I'm not exercising regularly, it really takes a toll. And I think that's a big reason why I'm an 8 today, because I got lots of exercise out in this beautiful Portland sun over the weekend.
Yes, I love it. Keep those bodies moving. Yes. All right. Anyone else? I seen a couple in the chat. Olivia's 8, doing well. And morning routine is not that elaborate, but I do the same. Yeah.
Well, you guys, I'll speak up. I'm Kristen, and I have been around this B Corp development since it was founded with legislation in 2014. And I've had to step back because of health and family issues. I'm taking care of my elder parents right now, but so I'm probably around a 6 because I'm unemployed, and that's always stressful. But you guys attending these things are always brighten my day, learning and seeing the change. And I love the B Corp movement, and just even seeing everything you guys have been able to build and create. It just inspires me and gives me hope. So that's what I look for.
Thank you for sharing. And kudos for you for navigating the stress as best as you can during these times and still showing up for the things that do fulfill you, such as events like these. Okay. I see Karen is at a 7. The me time keeps her sane. I love it. Even if it's 5 minutes or less. Yes, that's what it's about. It is not, we are not trying to, hey, put a time limit on how we take care of our mental health. Sometimes it is a 5-minute meditation. Sometimes it's a 5-minute snack. And all right, that's what I did for myself today. I like it. Rose is at a 6. A lot going on, feeling a little bit scattered, but like to sleep and take a lot of care of yourself. Lovely.
I can speak up too.
Okay.
I'm Hillary. I'm not on a computer with a camera today, so sorry. I'm at an 8 today. I got to spend the weekend with a bunch of my extended family for a kind of informal reunion. And I'm an extrovert, extreme extrovert. So for me, taking care of my mental health looks like making sure I have time with the important people in my life. So, if I'm really swamped with work or projects or life, making sure I reach out and schedule time with my dad or my friends really helps keep me sane.
I understand that as an extrovert myself. Love quality time with my loved ones. Okay, is that everyone?
I'll chime in and piggyback on that one, that I thought I was an introvert, but but I really need that family connection for sure. Sarah here, by the way. And it's my boyfriend's birthday today, and his mom's in town. We've been seeing lots of family this weekend. He really liked the present that we all got for him. So all that connection is really filling me up. And yeah, I didn't really know how much I needed it until I couldn't have it the past year and a half. So it's good to be back.
You, Sarah. Wow. Okay. I see Karen also raised money for a good cause this weekend. So I'm sure that's filling up that mental health cup as well. Thank you. And anyone else? Anyone else want to check in?
Sure, I'd love to check in quickly. Hi, everyone. I'm Tia. I am an extrovert. I always thought I was an extrovert, and I think I am. But now working from home for, a year plus, I've kind of gotten, I guess, used to not socializing with anyone. And I have been now that we're starting to turn and starting to gather with people, it has given me a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress about gathering with people again, that I have found that I'm not excited. I'm actually very scared to get together with people, and I'm not looking forward to it at all. So on top of the pandemic stress and new job stress and all of this stuff, now there's this other element that's been added on, like, how do I get together with people when I don't really feel like it and I don't want to be offended, but I think I need to get together with people to kind of get me out of this funk, but I just don't know what to do right now. And now I'm even more stressed that, and I thought I'd be really excited to get together with people, but now I'm like, I'm good right now. I don't want to see anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a big one, Tia. And that's a reality that a lot of folks will be facing as they're going from working from home and integrating back into the workplace. And something for you all, if you're business owners or you're in HR or customer relations or employee relations, being aware of that, there's going to be that extra layer of anxiety, and how you can provide an environment that acknowledges that and supports that. So we're going to talk about that, of course, today. And T, I could tell you, go to them community events, go to them. Because you know what, when you go to them, that's going to give you the real life experience to challenge any thoughts, fears, or even black and white thinking that may come up of, oh my goodness, no, it's going to be overwhelming. Or because when that anxiety kicks in, it comes with a lot of thoughts. So sometimes when you're in a situation, having that to be able to serve as a reminder, like, okay, no, it is safe. I can be safe. I can be protected, and I can enjoy myself. I do need that interaction. So be your best cheerleader too. All right. So I'm going to start by just talking about mental health versus mental illness, because sometimes people don't realize that they're not two of the same things. So your mental health is overall encompassing of your emotional and your psychological and your social well-being. And our mental health affects everything. It affects the way we think, like I just said with that anxiety. Ooh, could distort some things. It affects the way we feel and how we act, how we engage with one another. How do we show up at work, in our personal relationships, or in the community? And it also affects the way we make decisions and how, or even our ability to be able to cope with stress. Now, when we're talking about mental illness, we're talking about an actual diagnosed medical condition that is affecting the way people think, act, and behave in multiple settings, whether it's work, school, home, the community. We're actually looking for diagnosable, shall we say, criteria. So knowing that everybody has mental health, and not to misconstrue that just because you might be having a mental health challenge, such as being burnt out or feeling stressed, it does not mean that you are experiencing a mental illness, because a mental illness is categorized by many things, meaning time, duration, how long have you been experiencing something, or multiple different symptoms that's going on at the same time. So just to clarify, it's mental health. I have one, you have it, your employees have it, your coworkers have it, we all have it. And there's nothing wrong with promoting mental health and wellness in the workspace. And that's something you want to communicate to your staff. Also, it's like, hey, you know, we're not here to get into your personal business as far as if you have a mental illness or not, but we just want to talk about mental health as an overall thing. That's something that affects everybody in the way we work together and the way we get our job done. And of note is just because someone does experience anxiety or does experience depression, it does not mean, like I said, not everybody will be diagnosed with clinical depression or diagnosed with like generalized anxiety. So also knowing that there's a spectrum, and reassuring you folks that you are working with that, hey, it's okay to talk about these things if they so choose, because they're going to create that environment where you can reduce stigma and your staff feel comfortable coming to you or asking you for support. So why is it important to support employees' mental health? Well, I could tell you, businesses, companies care about productivity, you care about profits, and you should care about your employees as well. Because what studies have been showing is when you do support your staff mental health, it increases productivity. Research shows that nearly 86% of employees that are treated for depression reported that they actually improved their work performance. And in some studies, treatment of depression had been shown to also reduce absenteeism by 40 to 60%. And we want our staff to be here, show up as their best selves so they can do the job that they signed up for. Also, employee retention, right? So in 2019, a survey was done on more than 1,500 employees nationwide, which reported that a third of them left their jobs due to, in part, mental health challenges. And of those, 59% of them, mental health was the primary reason, right? Because oftentimes, and me as a clinician, as a therapist, when I'm working with folks who have depression or have anxiety, and also it's showing up in their workplace, it's affecting their work, and they try to communicate it with their employers or their supervisor, sometimes it's not always met with compassion or empathy. It's often met with this, we're not mental health therapists. This is not what we're here for. You know, call EAP, call your EAP services, when it really should be a little more cohesive process, a little more supportive. You can use EAP, and we'll talk about that later, but you also want to be aware that, hey, if that person just came to you and expressed that they're having mental health challenges that is affecting their work, that they have some type of trust with you and they are looking to be supported by you, as whether you are the HR individual or if you are their supervisor, or even if you're just their colleague. They're trusting you and sharing and being vulnerable with you because they want some type of support. And that is what today I want to give you guys the tools to be able to support your colleagues, or if it is your staff, okay? And when you don't, unfortunately, when you're not supporting your employees' mental health and wellness, of course, there's going to be a decrease in productivity. There's going to be a decrease in profits, and you will see increased absenteeism, whether that be from health issues related to the stress they're experiencing at work, whether that be actually mental health issues from the challenges they're experiencing at work in their personal lives, or they just can't seem to get out of bed or function in the way in which they used to. So being aware of that, because you want to create this culture, especially after the pandemic, when we know that anxiety and depression increased throughout the pandemic. So chances are your staff that's coming back to work, 9 times out of 10 will be experiencing some type of mental health challenges, whether it's just anxiety integrating back into the physical work environment. So being mindful of those things. Sorry, checking the chat I've seen. I can't wait to hear it. So I'd like you to share some of that when we open up for questions later regarding the chat. Kristen. So what are the signs of anxiety in the workplace? What does it look like? What does it sound like? So this is where you have to show up with a little more intention, because you might hear colleagues or your staff kind of complaining of certain things or sharing different concerns, but it may go out the window when you're not showing up with mental health and wellness in mind. So you want to be listening for excessive worrying. If you hear a colleague or a staff saying, oh, I'm worried about this deadline, I can't meet it, I have this project, and it's all this worry, or they're worried about, I don't know if I'm doing a good job. I don't know if I'm showing up and doing the things that I am supposed to be doing. Listening out for these type of complaints and knowing that it's not just the complaints or their concerns or their worries alone that would make you feel like, okay, could they be anxious? Could they be having some anxiety in the workplace? It's also listening out for feelings of loss of energy, just feeling fatigued, or even you noticing that they don't have that zest that they used to have, noticing that someone that used to be outgoing or maybe extroverted at work, always eager to do their job, all of a sudden they seem like they're isolating and they're just not really being themselves anymore. Looking for irritability, because that often is a big sign in the workplace of anxiety, is when you see that shift happen between colleagues. All of a sudden you're telling people what their tasks are, or you're checking in, following up on projects, and you're met with, instant, whether that be like, hold on, where are you accusing me of something? Or they just seem on edge, as if you've been bothering them or asking them about this same project multiple times, when in actuality, it's just your first time following up with them. So you're looking for that response. They may be kind of overreactive. You ask for something and they give you a response that it does not meet what you actually ask of them. You might hear complaints of physical pain, right? We know anxiety can cause a lot of tension within the body. You might also hear complaints of headaches or stomach aches, things like that. And also, if you're noticing that all of a sudden this individual used to be prompt when it came to presentations or actually getting their work done on time, and all of a sudden they're needing to extend the deadline, you want to check in. You want to check in with them and inquire about, hey, what may be going on? And also you let them know, you want to create that environment where, like I said, it reduces mental health stigma. So like, hey, you know what? I noticed that you've been seeming worried a lot lately. And I hear you talking about all this back pain, this neck pain, and wow, you're just really needing a lot of extended deadlines. And I just wanted to know, like, could you by any chance, do you think you may be experiencing anxiety? And how can I support you if you are, right? Because we don't want to make assumptions and leave it at that. No, I'm care for you. I'm coming to check in, and I also want to be a support, right? Also looking for changes in the way they talk. If they went from being the positive one on the team, they're the one that you normally could go to for some optimism or some encouragement, and all of a sudden, all they can do is talk about how negative things are, how they don't like their job, how everything about their job is just annoying. Listening out for these things, because that also correlates to probably job dissatisfaction, which also might hint at burnout, which we'll talk about that as well. But really, this is, as a whole, these are the things you're looking for. Physical changes, right? Physical changes. Even if you see them shaking, even if you notice, okay, all of a sudden they're not eating. They used to eat lunch with us. Now they're not even eating. They're at their desk all the time. Checking in on one another, showing some accountability. Like, hey, I noticed some changes. Is everything okay? Now, signs of depression in the workplace can look like persistent and depressed mood. And it can also, this is where it gets tricky, because it can also look like business as usual. You may not see a change in the way they show up as far as how their mood is, especially depending on the culture they are from, right? Because sometimes when it comes to the African American culture, they'll still show up and be pristine, and you may not even know that anything is wrong with them. And that's because there's a lot of pride, and you still have to push on and persevere no matter what the obstacles are. So being aware of that, hey, yeah, somebody could be depressed in the workplace, even though they may still look happy. So if you're not seeing that change in the mood, or even in the way their facial expressions are, how they're looking, that you can look at for these other signs, such as definitely talking about feeling hopeless. Oh, I don't know if I'm ever going to get out of here. I don't know if I'm ever going to get that promotion. I don't even know what's the point of me doing this project when it's not even going to be received well. Just really feeling as though there is nothing hopeful going on. It might even be having some negative self-talk. So if you hear somebody that you know is actually great at what they do, and they're talking negative about themselves and their talents, it's like, wait a minute, where did this come from, right? Those are signs you want to be looking for. Like I said, decline in productivity, right? All of a sudden you were a star performer, and now we're seeing that it's starting to decline. I'm noticing that you might be having some difficulty concentrating, right? You've been working on this task for a few hours, and you're telling, or they're actually verbally telling you these things, like, I just can't complete my task. No matter how long I sit here, I am struggling to get it done. Also, you'll see some tardiness, right? Because if somebody is feeling depressed, it also affects their sleep. Some may struggle to fall asleep. Some may struggle to stay asleep. So in turn, what that means is if they fall asleep at 4 a.m. and they're supposed to be up at 6 to be out by 7, chances are they may not make it to work on time. So even, or even at all, right? And we know in Oregon, we have the mental health day. Even if you have staff that's like, hey, I need to take a mental health day, don't just leave it at that. When they return back, check in with them. Ask them, how can you support them when they do return back? Because chances are one day does not solve whatever the issue was, or the compounding issues that led them to feel depressed. Also, you're still looking for irritability. It could be anger, it could be conflict with colleagues. So being aware of that, hey, sometimes it's not the surface of what you see. It could be some things going on underneath. And that's often with mental health challenges. There tends to be this surface behavior that is seen that may be off-putting, right? If somebody's irritable, if somebody's depressed or in a bad mood or being negative, it might push people away, when in actuality, maybe that you need to be drawing in or leaning into them. Like, hey, you know what? This is not really like you. I've never seen you this way. Do you need to check in? Like, what's going on? And also, and this is a real reality, is the talk of suicide, right? If you hear your colleague talking about that they want to end their life, or if you actually see them researching at work, because it does happen, researching things like that at work, that's grounds you want to check in, and you also want to provide some crisis resources. Give them Multnomah County crisis line, Washington County, Clackamas County, whichever county you live in. You want to be a resource. I'm gonna check the chat towards the end before we do breakout. Okay. And signs of burnout, it's literally like a combination of some of the symptoms of anxiety and some of the signs of depression. You know, you may see colleagues become irritable easily, distant. They used to show up at company functions, company gatherings. All of a sudden, they're not attending anymore. It might be exhaustion, dreading to come to work. They come to work and at the start of the day, they're already over it. They're already in a bad mood or feeling irritable or complaining of another day, you know, listening out for these different clues or buzzwords that they may be using that shows that they are overworked or burnt out. Definitely the decline in performance, job dissatisfaction, like I said, physical symptoms, headaches, stomach aches, nausea, and actual muscle tension, right? So knowing that these are signs, anytime you see it, it does not matter what the cause is. Those are grounds to check in. Hey, have you been taking your breaks lately? Hey, you have a lot of PTO. When was the last time you took a vacation? Really asking these questions that kind of get the ball rolling on, hey, you look overwhelmed. And I'm wondering, like, hey, if you can use a break. So when it comes to burnout, right, and you notice your colleague or you actually have a staff that's calling HR that's like, hey, I'm overwhelmed, I'm feeling burned out, don't know what to do, or you're the supervisor and you notice it and they're not communicating it. What do you want to do? Like I said, encourage your staff to use their PTO and sick days. I know a lot of individuals who have over 200 hours of like paid time off because they don't take vacations. And it doesn't matter how great or how much you love your job, you still need to take time off, right? So you want to encourage your employees to take that time off. Use it and talk about the benefits of what happens when you take a break, when you have time away from work. You come back refreshed, recharge. You may have a new lens to look at or problem solve different scenarios that are essential to your job performance. And that in itself is something worth taking a break for. And I know personally, when I take breaks from work and I come back, it is a great feeling, even though I love what I do. And it's hard for me to take a break. But it is important so that your staff can, like I said, be functioning at their most optimal, optimal health. We want you to show up at your best. And that means taking time for you to recharge, to be with family, or whatever it is that you would like to use your time for, right? You want to encourage, and I call this, and also model for your staff how to practice assertiveness, because this is often a challenge. And one thing that I hear a lot from individuals with anxiety when it comes to what their needs are and asking for them in the workplace, they already automatically assume that, no, my job is not going to care. My job is not going to do that. They don't care about my needs. So modeling how to be assertive, how to ask for what your needs are, and how to actually get them met, right? Because that takes vulnerability. So even knowing that even yourself, if you are the boss or the supervisor, that, hey, you know what? Being vulnerable with your staff, letting them know like, hey, I had a stressful weekend and you know what? Today, I'm just going to be here for 4 hours and I'm going to cut out because I really need to leave to go practice my stress management, whatever it is. I need to go do some Zumba or whatever it is that you do. But letting them know, showing them that it's okay to say, hey, I'm stressed. Hey, I'm anxious today. and I really cannot control it. So I'm going to leave and go do something that will help me reduce my anxiety, right? Encouraging your staff to set boundaries that they need. Do not take on more than you can handle. You know, knowing the importance of saying no to prevent burnout. Because also, if someone is anxious in the workplace, that can also look like high achieving, right? That can also look like, okay, I want to take on all these tasks because I want to be good at all these things. But also may look like falling short. So encouraging and checking in when you notice that your staff is like, has taken on several projects. It's like, hey, are you actually okay with this? Tell me, what's your process? How are you going to navigate all this before they even get to taking on all their projects? So helping them set boundaries, asking them what's their tolerance, what's their threshold, even before you assign them a new task. You know, like, hey, how are you doing stress-wise? Where's your stress level at, right? Engaging your staff in full body grounding exercises, right? It's different forms of grounding. There's mental grounding, physical grounding. You can also do grounding through your 5 senses, you know, taking into account, you know, something that's soothing to look at, soothing to taste, feel, hold, or do. So really encouraging, you know, it could be physical movement, it could be dance. It could be, hey, we're just gonna get up and we're just gonna, you know, wiggle, we're gonna move our bodies because we know that stress and tension lives within the body and we need to exert that, right? We're talking about reducing some cortisol so we could reduce some stress, all right? So being able to suggest these things and also engage with them, right? Because sometimes it's when you are an employee and you are having a mental health challenge, it can feel very isolating. So having someone that can do it with you will also help create kind of that work culture or that work environment that feels inclusive and leaves your staff feeling like, hey, my job, they care about me. They care about me and my wellness. You can also meditate. Meditate. Encourage this. Whether it be, hey, we're going to turn on a YouTube video and we're just going to do and engage in a group meditation. It's okay. That way you cover everybody's mental health all at once. And it always doesn't have to be on an individual level, right? Some of the things you can suggest your staff to do is engage in some body work, right? If you notice they're burnt out and like I said, that tension or they are showing up with anxiety, it's like, hey, have you thought about trying acupuncture? I hear it's really helpful for anxiety and also rebalancing the energy within your body. Encouraging them to practice self-care, right? Maybe you have a self-care wall with different activities that your staff actually came up with. Like, okay, this is how I practice self-care. And that's something you can refer to that lets them know that, hey, you know what? They really care about what my needs are and how I can best be supported, right? Encourage them to treat themselves well and treat themselves however that is, you know? Sometimes that may be a little snack. Sometimes it might be, hey, I'm gonna do this 15-minute yoga session, right? But just encouraging and promoting self-care and health and wellness, eating well, sleeping well. And when it comes to, like I said, job dissatisfaction, you know, if you guys have it within your realm to create a role that may be more aligned with that employee skill set, or encourage them to apply for another position in a company that they may find more fulfilling. After you engage with them and find out, okay, what's going on with this burnout? Why are you burnt out? Are you tired of your current role? Or are you looking for something new? Or is it the stress of the role? So really being able to tap in and help them in that regard. So this is something you guys can do as far as helping them manage stress, you know, because a lot of times I find companies when employers are struggling, Their focus is on problem solving, problem solving, problem solving. What can we do about this? How can we fix this problem? They're not producing the results we want or the outcomes. We need to problem solve. When in actuality, you should be focused on stress management first. Because when someone is under stress and trying to problem solve, it's not a good combination. For one, when we're experiencing intense emotions, our prefrontal cortex is hijacked by those emotions, meaning our ability to make informed decisions decline. Our ability to make good judgments decline, and our ability to manage our emotions in that moment becomes a challenge. So really focusing on stress management first. What can I do to help my staff reduce their stress? Then we can problem solve, because I want to give them time to actually regain that full capacity of their prefrontal cortex and those executive functioning skills, so we can actually come up with a plan of how we're going to solve the problem that they are facing, right? Different stress management activities, like I said, could be definitely doing some grounding activities, visualization, definitely mindfulness, stress reduction meditations. These are not things that you have to be skilled at. You could be, hey, you know what? I already have this playlist. Let's decide which meditation sounds soothing for you. What do you need right now? And having that accessible so that you can be of support in the moment when staff does come with a crisis or feeling stressed and overwhelmed, right? And oftentimes, I talked about this earlier, that with the depression and anxiety or the burnout could come this negative self-talk, right? This negative self-talk that does not serve them or help them achieve what it is their job is. So empowering them through affirmations, saying it out loud for them, asking them to say it with you, right? I am a problem solver. Any problems that come my way are solvable. Engaging them in co-regulation, right? That's something we thought was just for babies. No, it is for adults too, and it is so necessary and needed, right? And you can do this by, hey, all right, sometimes when someone is depressed, anxious, or overwhelmed, their ability to kind of think in the moment rationally can be, like I said, decline. So it's like, all right, sometimes those coping skills they may have had before they were stressed, they're out the window. And that's where you could come in like, hey, you know what? I'm going to lead this deep breathing exercise. Or, hey, are you okay with me giving you a hug and a pat on the back? Because when you're patting, you want to be alternating on each side. So it gives some bilateral stimulation. And why are you doing that? To try to get the nervous system back into down regulation, telling the body that it's okay, it's safe, it's calmed down, essentially. You can calm down now. Your body does not need to be in fight, flight, or freeze. So knowing that can also help provide them a sense of groundedness when they're unable to ground themselves and they have work to do that they want to get done, right? And also, this is a big one. It's helping them prioritize and delegate. Because sometimes when you're in the thick of it or you're anxious and you feel overwhelmed, it becomes challenging to actually organize and plan and think of all there is to do. So that's where you could come in and be supportive, like, hey, you know what, let me see. How can I help you prioritize this? Or what can I take off your plate? If you're in a position of power to remove things off their plate and delegate, that is what I would encourage you to do. How can you reduce their load? And this just continues to go in as far as actual things that you can do as a company or as HR, as a team leader. You can host community meetings, right? At the start of your team check-ins or weekly meetings, it's like, hey, let's hold space for mental health. And it could be things just as simple as, hey, just like how I started. I want to check in. I want to see where everyone is at. Because those that may be a 3 that lets you know, like, hey, you might want to follow up with them, see what's going on or how they may need to be supported today to be able to perform the duties of their job. It could look like creating a calm or grounding room, right? Which that is inclusive, very inclusive of everything. Thinking about what would you put in it? What would you want to see? What would you want to hear? What should be included that would help your staff decompress, take a break, and regroup, right? So this is also employee driven. You want to be collaborating with your employees, asking them, like when you're stressed, when you're anxious, what is helpful? What should we put into our calm room, right? Fitness challenges. I know Katie said, she got her workout in and that helped her improve her mental health, but doing that on a team level of, hey, come on, we're gonna do this yoga challenge, or we're going to do this 5K run, whatever it is. Or you know what? We're challenging employees. Who gonna take the stairs? Who can take the stairs up and down to their office? Different ways just to get people moving, because we know that movement is also good for reducing stress and anxiety and helping with depression, right? So thinking about things that way. In times of crisis, or when the community at large is affected by various traumas, consult with a therapist, right? We know last year was a huge uprising regarding police brutality. Some things companies and employers can do is, hey, you know what? We have a mental health therapist on site that's going to lead support group. We have someone here on site to help focus on stress management. We want to show you that we care about your health and wellness by bringing these practitioners here to reduce, I don't have time, to reduce any barriers that gets in the way of your team showing up and feeling their best, right? So not being afraid or to reach out and coordinate with local practitioners, partner with them. Offer gift certificates to your staff, or you implement a rewards program and it's like, hey, acupuncture service on us, hey, sound healing on us, or having a sound healer come in and do a sound bath for the whole team, right? Just being creative and asking your team, what do they need to be supported when it comes to their mental health and work, and finding out ways to bring that vision to life. Now, in the moment when an actual staff actually asks or tells you that they are having some mental health challenges, you want to actively listen to them. Actively listening includes reflecting back what you heard, making sure that you understand their problem accurately, and making sure that, hey, they feel heard, because that's a big part of it, them feeling heard. You want to be mindful of where you're at. Are you in the place to provide a mental health check-in, or do you need to refer it to someone else, right? So even being mindful and saying like, hey, you know what? I'm actually under a lot of stress today. Can I actually connect you with such and such who's also, great with being supportive in helping folks who might have mental health concerns or challenges, right? Providing empathy, letting people know that you understand, that you identify with what they may be struggling with. Even if it's not exactly, but it's like, hey, I can see why that would be challenging for you, right? And validation goes a long way. Validate their feelings, their concerns. Let them know that, wow, okay, I see that this is of importance and I want to help you. Giving them reassurance. Thank you for communicating this to me. Encouraging them to use that EAP, because a lot of times those 6 sessions go unused. So if they actually tell you like, hey, you know what, I have been struggling with depression, actually on and off, and I was on medication, and it's like, okay, well, okay, all right. Here's a list of providers, right, that are part of our EAP program. So these are providers you can see. Having that list readily available. Having a list of mental health therapists in your community to be able to support the staff, because that also will breed that culture that says, hey, I care about your health and wellness. And I care so much that I have this list available, because I know it can be challenging to search for therapists. And lastly, I'm going to lead you guys into a little technique that you can use when any emotions in the workplace are causing distress, whether it be anxiety, whether you're feeling depressed. You can use this. This is called emotional freedom technique. It's a tapping. You're tapping on meridian points to restore the balance of energy throughout the body. And also that tapping also helps the nervous system get those signals, those vibrations that, hey, I can calm down. I am safe and I'm trying to ground myself, right? So you always want to identify what the issue is. Okay, I'm anxious. I'm having a lot of anxiety at work. Rate it. Okay, my anxiety is at a 7 today. Okay, then you want to create a phrase that addresses that feeling, but also self-acceptance. I'm anxious and I accept myself fully, right? And you want to say that as you tap on these different meridian points. So this would be on your hand, karate chop, you would say, I'm anxious and I accept myself fully. Because you don't want to be resistance towards what you're feeling. You want to accept it so that you can process through it and get back to your work. So tapping on these different points. Right? I'm gonna move the video box because it's probably blocking, but the top of the head, in here, under, in here, top of the lip, chin, collarbone, and you're still reciting your phrase. You still want to be reciting your phrase. And under the arm. And you want to do that. You want to do that. And you could do one whole side and then alternate to the other side. You can alternate, but you want to do that and do it a few times through. Then re-rate yourself. How are you feeling? Where's that anxiety at now? Okay, my body feels a little more at ease. I would say it's a 5. Is that enough for you to go and accomplish whatever the task is? Or do you need to do it some more? And also, focusing on your breathing. Inhaling deep and exhaling and checking in. Okay, yeah, I think I feel a little more at ease. So, and if it's not working for you, then it's like, okay, I did it multiple times in a row and I still feel tense. I still feel anxious. All right, that may mean you just need to try something else and that's okay. But this is a technique that you can do and you can do it with others. You can model it and you can also find ample YouTube clips about it to follow along with if you don't remember the points, right? Okay, so I'm gonna check this chat before, because I'm imagining this may be questions in here. Yes. Yes, it is. Thank you, Yancy. I hope I pronounced your name correct. But yes, I use that a lot with kids as well, because we know they can use a lot of regulation. And if anybody have questions that they want to ask out loud, this would definitely be the time. I'm just going to catch up on these chats.
It looks like there was one question from Kristen. How can we be most culturally sensitive as mental health awareness and stigma ranges greatly from culture to culture and generation to generation?
Yes. I would say do lunch and learns. Have different therapists of different cultural backgrounds that specialize in it, working with African Americans, working with Asian, working with the Native population. Have them come in and talk to you guys. You provide lunch for your staff and let them talk to you guys and educate you on, hey, these are different cultural norms. This is the way you can address mental health in a non-stigmatizing way or in a way that feels authentic, right? So finding out who some clinicians are and bringing them in, because that's the only way you will begin to learn what different cultural groups need and how some things are not going to be good across the board. So being aware of that. Wow. Yes. Okay. I'm looking at rows that y'all offer wellness reimbursement. Yes. It's things like that. Like, hey, I care about you guys. We're going to reimburse you if you go get some yoga or you go get a massage. Because oftentimes folks are used to just operating at that level of stress and they just keep it all in. So encouraging them to get that body work that's going to release that tension. Yes, that's what we want to be doing. Okay. Was there any other questions that you spotted? Okay. So in these last minutes, I would love to hear, because I come from a world where different, like I say, I've worked in many mental health agencies and we had calm rooms. So I'm curious, in your place of business, whoever would like to chime in, if you were to create a calm room, what would you include in it? What would you have in it? What smells, or what would you have in there to eat? What would it include when you think about being supportive of your staff needs? What activities would be in there? And if you ever worked at a place that actually had one, you could share some of the things that was in your last jobs or your current job's calm room. A comfy chair, couch, or bed. Yes, I'm all about couches. Because I sleep everywhere. Every job, I take my naps. I don't care if they're 20 minutes. I'm taking them. A puzzle, lavender, warm lighting. Yes, yes. Warm lighting and even colored lights, right? Because we think about those that are into the chakras, right? And using light therapy to bring about different emotions or to meditate with. Plants, yes, right? That could be another way to encourage and also have a mental wellness plan. Could be having a gardening group at your place of employment. Because that is a very grounding activity. You're engaging all 5 of your senses for full body grounding. May need a massage after, but depending on what y'all planting, but yes. Doodle materials, art. Yes, beanbag chair. Yes. Think about sensory, right? Some people need different sensory input. So having different fidgets, different little gadgets they can tinker with. Having, like I said, even if it's a table in there, you could put a resistance band on the bottom of it, and that gives some sensory input. And it's something that they can flick back and forth, pop, and find some relief from if they are experiencing anxiety. Definitely music. Yes. Music, sound machine. I love it. Nobody said food. Do y'all know the importance of food in mental health? We need to eat, okay? What type of food or snacks? What would you put in there? Water. I would put some herbal teas in there, different ones. Definitely citrus for those that may be needing a boost or need to be uplifted. Some calming teas for those that may be on the more anxious side, right? Chocolate. Yes. Yes. Oh, well, you know what? Don't get discouraged in this COVID world, because you know what? In this COVID world, sharing, we go into doctor's appointments where we have to share the seats. We go into nail salons or restaurants, everywhere where you still have to share the same equipment. It'll just be, hey, we have to sanitize, right? We have to sanitize our common room so that in between use, whoever goes in, you have to wipe it down after. or there is a dedicated sanitizer. But don't give up on that calm room just because of COVID. COVID took enough. So we need to add back some things. Yes, I like the healthy snacks for free. Don't put no vending machine in there, okay? Just go on to Costco and get a big assortment of snacks. And don't burden your staff with the cost of it. Yes, because when folks are under stress, the first thing they tend to give up is eating. They don't worry about lunch. They don't worry about food because they're trying to be productive. So, yes. Thank you. I'm gonna hand it back over to you, Rose, to close it out.
Wonderful. Thank you, ZaDora. And if people have questions, is there a way that they might get in touch with you that I can share it in the wrap up email too,
Okay.
but just,
Yes.
yeah, awesome. Well, thank you, ZaDora, for leading this presentation and giving us a clue of kind of where to go from here. How do we support our own mental health, and how do we support our colleagues and our staff? And appreciate everybody here for coming. I know it's a nice hot day, so hopefully you can get some time outside or somewhere cool to be today. And yes, if you have questions, just email us at info@blocalpdx.com, and we'll be sharing out some event resources in an email within a week. So thank you so much. Happy June.
Thank you. Thank you all.